The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Bracken Farms, Stonewall Stud, IRT, it's your horse and our passion, Australasian-wide Garrard's Horse and Hound, Rikiro Racing Stables, Lincoln Farms, the clubs Alexandra Park, Cambridge Raceway, Ashburton Trotting Club, Addington Raceway and Harness Racing New Zealand. Hi everyone, welcome into another edition of Your Box Seat. Yes, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Michael Guerin, when we get to Kaikoura, we know we're very, very close to the biggest week of the year. It wasn't quite the Kaikoura that we know, but I tell you what, it was a heck of a race day.
Yeah, morning Greg. It was awesome. Hi to everybody around the country. I hope you've recovered from one cup. Obviously the big one in Melbourne on Tuesday, because we have plenty more coming your way over the next week in Christchurch. But Greg, even though it wasn't the Kaikoura we know and love, I think it's going to be a far better form reference, as we'll see through the show, to what we're going to see next Tuesday or next Friday. It was quite eerie watching from afar. I know you were on track, but us Aucklanders have to watch from afar. It was like watching New Zealand Cup Day without the noise. It was exactly the same type of racing. It was like a big dress rehearsal, just to remind us, Greg, how hard it's going to be for horses to come from back in the field next Tuesday.
Yeah, and how often do we hear it, particularly from you in the first instance, around horses on the markers when they're going that speed. They were going incredible speed there on Monday. In fact, it did feel like Cup Day in terms of what the racing was on the track. Let's go back and have a look at the Alabar Kaikoura Cup and see this remarkable horse. His name is Classy Brigade. He stepped as he always does, got himself in the right spot, gets up the Bracken Farms passing lane and takes out his third Kaikoura Cup. The first horse to have achieved that. Let's get Matt Cross to bring them home and then hear from the winning connections.
It's Classy Brigade, 3 in a row. Classy Brigade won the Kaikoura Cup, beat South Coast Start and Photos third between Laver and Henry Hubert.
Grant, this horse has given you plenty of special thrills in his time, but 3 Kaikoura Cups, that's amazing.
Unbelievable. We want, that was our whole aim for this campaign, was just do well in this and maybe have a shot. We thought when it wasn't at Kaikoura, we had less chance. So I'm still having a heart attack from winning that one. That's fantastic.
It's a remarkable story, this horse. Placed second in the Derby behind Lazarus feels like a lifetime ago, and he's fought back so many times. He really deserves all the credit he gets.
He's just been an unbelievable animal to us. For such a long time, he just got better and better and better. He just needs a Group 1 now.
Well, the Group 1's next week, of course, in the Cup, and the build-up towards that, well, it's going to be something special again.
Oh, it's going to be a busy week, and I was half thinking, will I come down for the Cup? But I'll be here with bells on. Fantastic.
You've had some pretty satisfying moments in this game, but I reckon that's right up there.
Yeah, definitely. Especially the horse, he deserves it. Like, he gets a record now. First horse to do 3, so poor buggy. He's got great manners, but he's always sort of just been under the more fraction in the big races. But he deserves everything he gets.
What about going towards the Cup now? I mean, his manners are so good. You know he's going to be in the first 4 pretty much throughout. Can he really, realistically win a Cup?
Well, I hope so. Anyway, well, like you say, his manners are first class, and he puts himself in those good positions. And he's actually learned to follow speed and come through and hit the gap and show a bit more speed as he's getting older. So, yeah, we'll be freaking trying our hardest anyway, Greg.
He's had a really sound build-up, hasn't he? 7 starts, Michael, never further back than third. In fact, I was going over his record since joining the Robert and Jenna Dunn barn. 40 starts, 9 wins and 22 placings for a horse that when he went out to the beach, I think their expectations were if we can get it back to the races, it'll be great. If we can win some races, yeah, okay. But the story of Classy Brigade is almost the story of next week's IRT New Zealand Cup.
Yeah, and the most remarkable part of those stats is the 40 starts. I mean, when a horse goes to the beach, you don't think they're going to be able to get 40 starts out of them. The Dunn team did something similar with Ultra Orlando. So whatever they're doing out there, obviously the beach really helps, Greg, but it's remarkable stuff. He's an incredible horse because I'm not sure in the scheme of the open class horses, he's that good. He's definitely not as good as Self Assured. He's probably not as good as South Coast Arden on his best day. He wasn't as good as the Fixer. But what he is, he's living proof that once these beach-trained horses, Greg, get fit, and they get so fit running on the beach because obviously they don't have the same pressures as running on a track. If you combine that with good manners and you get on the front end of the field, more often than not, you'll finish at the front end of the field, 1, 2 or 3. And he's been able to use that pretty basic equation again and again and again incredibly successfully. It suits John Dunn's main style of driving because he's not scared to be aggressive. And yet in this race and at Ashburton, he was flexible enough to hand up early one time, mid-race for the other. So he's been a remarkably well-handled horse. A lot of people would like to see him win the Cup next Tuesday. Can he win it? I doubt he can unless one of the big three, all of the big three, have things not go their way. And that's possible with the standing start manners concerns. But he's a warrior, Greg. And as John said, he'll be the horse who forever won 3 Kaikoura Cups. The way he's racing, to be completely honest, Greg, I wouldn't be stunned if he wins 4.
All right, he was too good for them, so let's find out those from those who finished just in behind. Well, that didn't look like a whole lot of fun at the start.
Oh, Greg, he was just in a foul mood right from the get-go. But, I thought his run after that was excellent. Even though he did that big leap, he did come down pacing, so you've got to give him some credit. But I thought his run after that was very, very good. Strong headwind home. Needed the run. He's puffed up a bit over the back. So, yeah, I think we're looking pretty good for next week.
Well, all round that was much better.
Yeah, really happy, Greg. Obviously, probably couldn't script a better run leading into the big dance now. So that was his 3rd run off the unruly. So hopefully that's him off now. So back in the draw the way he's been stepping. I think if he can step and put himself in a nice spot on the fence, he proved today he's not a mile away if the race is run to suit.
Well, he was brave again.
Yeah, he tries really hard, but he's been quiet the last couple of days. We bought him and he just lit up when he got in here, and we thought we might have a bit of trouble from just a wee bit on top of himself.
Yeah, right. So the start's so important, particularly in a race like the Cup, and particularly with a horse like him.
Yeah, it's too hard. They're too good horses. You can't give him time. He's trying his ass off, but he missing away. You've got to do so much more.
Yeah, but how special next week? It's going to be pretty cool, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic horse, and especially a horse like him. I think he's also, if he gets a decent run, he'll give it a shot. I mean, he's hanging out for a nice run, but it's near impossible to get him from there. And he's definitely not ready to be off the front line. He's got to stay on unruly. They actually just warned me then.
Did they?
So he can begin good, just getting him on the right step.
How special to do it with James and the partnership. It's just going to make it even a bigger occasion, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to the race.
The New Zealand Cup's about so many different things for people that have horses in the race, and there's another example of it, Michael. You've got Jeff and James Dunn with their first ever runner in the IRT New Zealand Cup, and Laver's a crucial horse for the race. He's the one horse in the race outside of the top 3 or 4 maybe that can move, and he'll set things up, and I really hope he steps away. I mean, you saw what happened to Natalie Rasmussen. She nearly got tipped out of the cart there with South Coast Arden. He bounded and then he came down pacing. So that pretty quickly, and I haven't checked, Michael, but that pretty quickly answered the question of whether he was coming off the unruly.
Yeah, well, he won't be.
Yeah.
No doubts he can win a New Zealand Cup, South Coast Arden, but the question for people watching at home is, do you want to back him? And his price has to drift. No matter what price he is when you're watching the show, he has to drift, Greg, because that doesn't encourage confidence in big punters who drive the market. Undoubtedly, he can win. And if he happened to get in front of them, Greg, he may well win. I think it's probably the only place he can win the Cup from is the front, but he's a good chance of being there. That raises the other question. If a classy brigade gets in front in the Cup, do they hand to those horses or do they say, no, we're going to try and run you? Laver's such a good story. A horse who maybe on Jules Day indicated to us he might come back as a better horse in this second part of the year. But I don't think he'd come back this good. He's been fantastic and beautifully driven, really aggressively driven to his strengths. I really like what they're doing with him, and good luck to James and to Jeff, who looks like he's part of a rock band at the moment, and we need those people in Armstrong. We need different looking people. It can be a bit staged sometime. It's good to see people having a good time. It's going to add to Cup Day. I still go back to the fact that the best three horses in the race, the big three, South Coast Arden, obviously Self Assured, and Copy That. They've all got little standing start concerns. Copy That, ironically, the least, being a North Island horse. It's remarkable that the North Island horses are the good standing start horses. Here he is at the workouts at Pukekohe last weekend. Now, this is less than ideal. This is not what you really need heading into a New Zealand Cup. It's an incredibly fast time, and he's on his home track, and it's great he can pace these sort of times around Pukekohe, but basically it's a private trial. So if he happened to get to the front, Greg, do they hand up? You would hope not. If Self Assured happened to get there like last year, maybe he hands up to South Coast Arden, nobody else clearly, and South Coast Arden clearly wouldn't. So what you're saying to yourself then is, which one of those three do you think gets there first, Greg? I think that's the equation for punters. And because everybody's going to bet those three, and then there'll be those other horses in the clump behind them, probably led by Classy Brigade. I think the draw, which isn't out as we record this, is going to be crucial to the way a lot of people view the race, and then we'll start, picking at the little threads. But we already know South Coast Arden's going to be on that second line, and if he and Laver, so you mentioned the pressure horses there, they're back there. Well, by the time you get a big field strung out, almost certainly either Copy That or Self Assured is going to be up the front.
Yep.
You put them in those positions, Greg. South Coast Arden and Laver are huge factors in the race, putting that pressure in, but can they really come from back there and either win or, in Laver's case, still be there at the top of the straight? I doubt it, and I wouldn't be surprised if by Tuesday, late in the afternoon, because the Cup's later this year, we have a very, very warm favourite in Self Assured, a fair bit of support for Copy That, and the big punters wavering on South Coast Arden because they believe he'll be back in the field. I'm not saying he will be, Greg, but I really didn't like what I saw with that whole up and down, up and down, up and down before the start. As I watched the Kaikoura Cup on Monday afternoon, that was the thing that stuck in my mind. I was like, ooh. For the first time since I've seen South Coast Arden, probably since he started winning back in that Winter Cup sort of phase or whatever it was back in April or May, that was the first time I thought, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah, 10 minutes to 6 will be the start time for the IRT New Zealand Cup of 2021. We'll go more in depth on the box seat preview show, which will be recorded Sunday morning. You'll get to see it on YouTube later that afternoon or in the play-out times the following day on Trackside, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. on the Monday night, as well as a replay leading into Trackside's big coverage of Tuesday's event. All right, let's leave that for now until Sunday, where we'll have a decent go at it and go to the South Bay Trotters Cup, which was the first time these two have gone head-to-head. Not really, because they went head-to-head a couple of weeks ago, but of course Muscle Mountain missed the start. This is him in front. He didn't miss the start this time. Sunday Sun was trying to run him down along with Mataderos. Let's hear from Ben Hope and those just in behind on the other side.
But it's Muscle Mountain. Muscle Mountain won the Majestic Sun South Bay Trotters Cup and beat Mataderos. Sunday Sun ran third.
Well, he was good at Ashburton. He was even better today.
Yeah, that's right, Greg. The most pleasing part was the standing start. Obviously, we were standing there for a little bit, but I had him right up to the tape, and he began really good, So I think, we're past that worry. But the actual performance was, pretty awesome. So, really happy going into the Dominion.
Got away with a cheap first half of the last mile, but once you wound him up, gee, he's just poetry in motion, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He's pretty special, and pretty lucky to be driving him.
You were surrounded by done runners. Were you aware of the fact that Sunday Sun was getting a beautiful run in the 1-1, and was that part of the reason you banged a 28-second quarter into them the second last one?
Yeah, that's right. I saw Tim parked and saw Johnny, having the sweet trip on his back. And I was just trying to go as slow as I could, and then, when it's time to go, I knew my fella would have the gas. So, it was awesome.
Your mum and dad have won just about every big trotting race in the country. They hadn't won that one, so that's something a bit different.
Yeah, that's right. They haven't always sort of taken the big trotters to Kaikoura, but, obviously with the meeting moved, it sort of worked out beautifully, and I've been lucky enough to win some big races, but Mum and Dad said, well, they've already won that before, so it's good to win one that they haven't. So, yeah, really cool.
Under the radar somewhat for the last two runs. You're on top of the radar now. It's going to be a different build-up to what it was probably a week or 10 days ago.
Oh, 100%. After the first run, we were a little bit worried about things, but, the pressure won't get to me, because I know how good this horse is. So, I'm very lucky.
Well, he just keeps on progressing.
Yeah, he's getting better and better, Greg, and gave me a good feel again today, and just need a bit more speed through the middle of the sections, but really dug down and found the line well.
What about heading towards the Dominion? Where's your confidence levels?
Yeah, he's given me a lot of confidence. 2 drives I've had on him, and I wouldn't be scared to top end him if he begun like he did, and really give him his chance. So very happy to drive him.
Just a soft half of the last mile probably didn't help you.
Nah, not at all. Nice wee trial that was today, and he trotted good. He found the line. It was harder, sort of the first to go around the bend on those sectionals was hard, but he's pulled up good, and you have to give him a bit more work at home now. Step it up, get him ready for the Dominion.
I think he's progressing quite nicely.
That's right, Greg. Yeah, he's come forward with each run that he's had, I think, this time in, and looks as though he's just starting to come to it now.
The sectionals today, they're probably again you?
Yeah, I think they're running 56 and 27, so from where we were, we're never going to be in contention and getting a big slice of it, but he's hit the line strong, and all's looking good going into next week.
How was he?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with him, Greg. Obviously, it's not easy sitting outside the calibre of Greg and Nina's horse, and 56-27, it's not his cup of tea. So I think they'll top him off nicely for show day. Obviously, he'll relish a good strong 2 miles, and as long as it's a real slog up the straight on show day, he'll be one. He lacks that real dazzling speed, but like you say, he'll keep sticking all day.
A new favourite for the Renwick Farms Dominion, Michael, Muscle Mountain, has surpassed Sunday's Sun, $2.25 against $2.40. Let the games begin.
Yeah, imagine if you had told anybody, including me and the people watching this, that Sunday Sun wouldn't be favourite for the Dominion, but wouldn't do anything wrong to not be favourite. He was actually okay, Sunday Sun, but Greg, this horse who won, he's going to be incredibly hard to catch if he ends up in front on Friday week. I love the interview with Ben Hope, who's obviously my man because he's given us views on you. He looks like a teenage kid who's been allowed to drive his dad's sports car, and he just really
That's
enjoying
exactly what it's like. Yeah.
And he's taking it for a hoon. Well, he's going to take it for a hoon in the Dominion next week in front of about 1,200 people. I love Sunday Sun. I think Sunday Sun's a special horse with an especially big heart. But it's incredibly hard to make the case he's going to sit parked outside that horse and beat him. Now, that may not be the case. They're both obviously in the draw. So put them on the front line. Who steps better? Don't know. Maybe Sunday Sun. I don't know. It might come down to just on the day and, which horse is in the right mood. Put either in front, Greg, it's incredibly hard to think they're going to get beaten, but there's lots of other moving parts to that. Metaderos is a good standing start horse and he's a stablemate of Sunday Sun. So maybe he's more likely to hand up to 1 than he is to Muscle Mountain. Lots of parts to this equation. It's going to be a fascinating 2 trotting races for the week, Greg. But I'll be honest for you, I'm looking forward to the Dominion as much as any race, including the New Zealand Cup next week. It's going to be really, really cool to see these horses because we know Sunday Sun's a great trotter and a champion. And maybe Muscle Mountain's going to be 2. And maybe that could change next week. Maybe there could be 2 champions in the same race. But let's not forget, Bolt for Brilliance is a very special horse. Majestic Man's a great horse. There's a lot of incredible stories in this crop, Greg. We're lucky to have them. I think there's a lot of well-trained horses in this crop of horses. It's going to be fascinating to see how this all unfolds. But the barrier draw initially is going to be crucial, Greg, because let's not forget it's going to be a full field. So there's about 10, 15, 12% by the time you take out the unruly horses who aren't in the draw, that one of those 2 top guns could end up on the second line, and that would enormously change the market.
Yeah, I've been really impressed the way Sunday Sun has been beginning. He gave them 10 metres obviously there and hit his straps really quickly. So just another part to the puzzle there. Right, let's move on to the aged pace, which has been a really good race since its first inception back in the late 90s. And in front, the Telfer team with Ultra Wise Guy made a terrific start, got to this position, and as we saw so often on this day, was just too tough to catch.
He put a gap in them. Alta Wise Guy, race over. Alta Wise Guy won it by 4. Shan Noble second. Third in still the show. Close fourth between Above and Beyond and Plutonium Lady.
Well, it's always awesome when a plan comes off like that.
Yeah, it is. Steve's had this in the wind for a fair while, and yeah, it's great.
Brilliant manners at the start. That was probably the winning of the race.
Yeah, it was. Look, he's a very fast horse, and they'd been standing him up at home, and Frank Phelan had been driving him and said he was brewing away, so yeah.
Once he found the front on picking, well, it was for Tim, I know, confidence levels started rising because it was going to take a fair animal to beat him today.
Yeah, it was. We were talking about it at Smoko, and I said to hold him up into 150 from the line. So, yeah, it was it was a bit different, but, yeah, look, he went super. Yeah.
What about Cup Week now? I suppose mission accomplished there. He's going to have to take on some pretty handy horses again, but the way he's going, he's on an upward rise.
Yeah, we'll just pick sort of where is the best to go for him from now, and, yeah, just take it as it comes.
Well, that was pretty dominant.
Yeah, really good, Greg. You're a little bit unsure if leading up was going to be his cup of tea, but the way he stepped and sort of put himself in such a handy position pretty cheaply. I was pretty comfortable to stay there after that, and luckily to his credit, he was good enough to stick on.
Standing start, manners. That's going to make him not too difficult to place in the upcoming months.
No, I think, like you say, he's in for a good summer, and he's strengthened up a lot from last time I drove him in the Jewels. So credit to the team, they put him aside and they picked this race out a wee while ago. So they said he could be pretty good from a stand if he hits his hobbles, and credit to Ben and Steve and the team up north because they weren't wrong at all.
Probably just one or two spots too far back?
Yeah, possibly, Greg. I got a reasonable card into the race, but the winner that was on the fence at the time, he was just too hard to catch. But made up some ground, and he went well.
Well, he had to make a move when he did.
Yeah, they were just dawdling up front, so I sort of had to go. And it's not really his cup of tea. He's more of a follow them one crack at them, but. Big race, I sort of had to try my luck, and he's still gone good to run third. Like I was saying, not his go to finish off like that. I was wrapped.
So that's John Dunn talking about Steal the Show, who of course will be in the IRT New Zealand Cup. But this horse, Ultra Wise Guy, he'll go round in a up to 75 at 1980 on Cup Day. He's a rating 71 now, and he has really good manners from the mobile too, Michael. So he's just about got the all-round game.
Look, he has, and he's not even their best 3-year-old or 4-year-old, depending what you call them these days, because obviously BD Joe's probably a better horse. What we're seeing, in my belief, Greg, is the development of Steve Telfer and Amanda and that team, the development, and Tim Williams would be part of that because it's important to have good track work drivers as well as the people up home, to the next level. Now, they've gone to the next level with what Steve Stockman is doing by purchasing these horses. They're buying a lot of horses who are well bred. But what we're seeing now is their ability to target specific races and win them. We saw it last year with the Sire Stakes Championship for the fillies. We saw it obviously at the Jewels with BD Joe, and we've seen it here. This is a hell of a thing to do, to say we have a non-standing start horse, we're going to target a standing start race in another island on a track which is probably going to be too big for him because he's a speed horse, and win it.
Yep.
And that's really important for harness racing because Mark and Natalie are coming back. We know that. So there's going to be this huge thing there. And then there's going to be the other stables who have been doing great things. Obviously, the Barry Purdens, and there's people down south like Cran who are having really successful times, and the Duns who have become a massive stable and premiership winners. But these are new players at the top level. We know they were good at what they do, Greg, but now they're getting better at what they do and they're getting more targeted. But coming in behind all that is this huge bunch of horse flesh they bought, this herd of horses. I've said it before, I'm getting more confident. I reckon they'll win a premiership. I reckon somewhere in the next 5 years, Team Telfer and Stonewall Stud will win a premiership. I think it'll happen. And more importantly, for big race watching now, you start to look at futures markets and you go, these guys can win this. I'm seeing proof they can do this now. Other thing, Greg, is I wouldn't be surprised, and we'll talk more about the new slot race later, if someone like Stonewall Stud bought one. Because Cambridge in a sprint race, BD Joe or this horse, they have options to go to those type of races, Gregory. They are very much the modern recipe for success. They've won 3 of those really big chunky races in the last 12 months. 1 from the trail, 2 from in front. They like to top end their horses. That's where they go their best. They don't sit back in the field. They take bad luck out of the equation. If they're good enough, they're good enough. And that's the modern recipe to win harness racing. Stonewall Stud, Team Telfer, seem to be mixing that recipe up quite nicely.
Yes, they certainly do, Michael. And you saw Ellie Barron there. I think she's joined their team along with David White, Tim Williams, Amanda. That's their South Island base. Gee, they've got some talent not only on the horse flesh but doing the work with the horses. Big day for the Kaikoura Club, 16 races. I think that's a record for a domestic harness meeting here in New Zealand. So I caught up with their president, Ben Smith. Well, I know it's not where you wanted to be, but overall it's got to be deemed a success.
Oh, it's fantastic, Greg. We've got a great lot of horses, outstanding horses actually today. And harness racing right behind us with the TAB to run 16 races, which is a first for New Zealand. And yeah, we've had a great day.
Brilliant performances. The trot for a start, Muscle Mountain outstanding. What about Classy Brigade? 3 Kaikoura Cups, history made here today.
That's unbelievable. 3 Kaikoura Cups in 3 years. To have horse up for that long and just to keep winning like that. So, and credit to the trainers.
Well, there's a bit of credit has to go to you and your committee. Well done on a great day, and let's hope we can get back to South Bay next year and really celebrate it then.
Yeah, we'll be back in South Bay next year. We're we're going to resurface this track and camber the bend and spend a bit of money. So that's where, future-proof our races. So we'll be there, guns blazing.
And Ben wanted me to make special mention of Dunstan and Livermore, who provided the winning connections with a voucher, I think it was, too, Michael. So all in all, it was a really well put together day. Do you know they turned over $2 million? It was about 300,000 shy of what they did over the 2 days last year, but effectively that's the on-course turnover that they didn't have. So a terrific effort all round.
Yeah, I really feel for the club. That'd be bloody hard to work all year towards something which is taken away from you for absolutely no fault of your own. But they'll be back next year. The new calendar has locked it in. Kaikoura is not going anywhere. They love it. Harness Racing New Zealand loves it. The TRB loves it. Everybody in harness racing, people in Australia love it. So it's going to be there, Greg, for a long time. And I like hearing they're going to do up the track a little bit. That's fantastic, and I think everybody's behind them. So well done to everybody involved in the cooperation at Addington. Most importantly, Greg, I want to mention too, well done to the track staff. When you have 16 races a week out from your biggest race meeting, the track staff have to be really on their game. They have to make sure that these horses aren't getting off the track sore, and they have to do that for what's not their meeting. They're not going to get any kudos for it. So to all the track staff, and that includes the people who drive the tractors and the conditioners and the people who water the track and everybody who does that, we don't thank them enough for what they do. Poor tracks make for sore horses. Addington's a very well maintained track. So to those guys and girls, thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, well done to John Denton and his team there. We're about to take a short break. As we go there, we'll head to the first victory in the sulky for Caleb Bublitz. Not only did he make it his first win on our Pinocchio for his boss these days in Phil Williamson, he grabbed another for Phil's son in Matthew with Von Art. And as we go out, we'll take in those couple of victories for him. I think he was 2 from 2 on the day. And on the other side, we'll hear from Catherine McDonald about all things the new feature race calendar.
Well, it's taken a little while, but they say you never forget your first, and you'll never forget this, Caleb Bublitz. Our Pinocchio goes all of the way. Von Art and Caleb Bublitz. Well, he won his first a little less than an hour ago, and he'll get his second tonight.
Catherine, it's been a 6-month project or thereabouts. So I reckon there might have been some relief last week when you actually were able to announce it.
Oh, there certainly was, Greg. It was a huge day. I was just so pleased it was out there.
Tell me, how's it been received?
It's been pretty quiet, but it's been quite well received. The comments have been, let's get out there and let's do it, and let's hope that the trainers and clubs and everybody supports it. So it's quite positive.
Catherine, let's focus on some of the key elements. The new race. It's going to be called something different to the Everest, but it has the same concept.
Absolutely has the same concept. We're looking at 10 slots with $50,000 each, paid for by the owners or by the slot holder, however it works out, to be the starting point of a really cool, really high-profile autumn carnival in Auckland.
Got a chance to speak to David Branch on SENZ on Sunday about it, and gee, they're excited. Obviously there's no jewels, so this is a replacement of sorts for them?
It is a replacement. So I said to Dave it would be at Cambridge each year, and it was their thing, and he's really excited about it because the jewels was every 2 years, and it's, you know, almost starting from scratch, but this he feels he can really build from as a club.
Okay, a couple of other significant elements to it. The movement of the Auckland Cup.
Movement of the Auckland Cup was specifically around when we believe we could get Australian horses over to support our carnival, and as a slot between the Miracle Mile and the successful Brisbane Carnival. So what we want to do is, starting with the race, is hopefully have 2 or 3 Australians come over and be part of that, and then the 6 races ending with the Auckland Cup that they can race in. So overall they race for 1.2 million, and then they can fly direct from Auckland to Brisbane.
Sounds like a pretty exciting time of the year in the north. Just back to Addington and the second of their major carnivals. So they have the Cup Carnival, now they're going to have a mega race day early in December.
Absolute mega day, 8 Group 1s and Group 3 for the open class paces, but it's like 2-year-olds, it's like harness jewels type. Then you've got the New Zealand derbies for both gates, you've got the New Zealand Pacing Oaks and the New Zealand Trotting free-for-all, which moves from Cup Day. A really exciting mega day, which I think in the sunshine at Addington, our premier event, will just be sensational.
Catherine, that covers off so many of our big bang races, but the country cups and the grade races, they haven't been forgotten either, or the grade type horses.
No, we haven't forgotten those. We've been trying to work how to support them because they are our bread and butter, and we do know our country races and our southern races are the ones that earn money for us each year to be able to run all of our mega events. And so we've got Country Cups, which is 33 races at different venues, and they culminate in a $100,000 final at Addington at Easter. It replaces the Easter Cup. And then ratings finals, we'll take points from those in ratings races, and we will split those into pacing and trotting ones at Addington for $30,000 each on the same day.
This isn't set in stone. You guys have done it for the first year, but there is room to move, isn't there?
Absolutely room to move. So what we will be doing when we get to winter, we'll re-evaluate the first half and see if we need to make any changes for the following winter, and keep working on that as we go through. We see it as anywhere from a 1 to 5 year program until it settles down in its natural place.
So great to get that insight there from Catherine McDonald, and also around all of the changes. Michael, one of the key things is those Country Cup type races, they're all for 4-year-old and older horses, so they really are catering for everybody. The key points though start with whatever we're going to call this race, the $500,000 slot race.
Yeah, I spoke to David Branch, who's the chief executive there at Cambridge, and they're tremendously excited. They've been given this wonderful opportunity, something which will grow. Well done to Harness Racing New Zealand. Somebody had to invent a slot race for harness racing in Australasia. It won't be the last one, but I think it'll end up being the biggest one. I think this will grow to $1 million very, very quickly, Greg. I think there'll be 10 slots this time around for $50,000. I think they'll sell on a heartbeat. The interest has been huge already. I think it can grow to $1 million. I think it falls at a good time of the year. Yes. No negatives on that at all. It'd be nice to get some Australians there, but if they don't come for 500, Greg, they'll come for $1 million, which is what it'd be.
Well, over those 6 weeks, though, Michael, they can go to the Messenger. The Auckland Cup's the other key talking point there, going on the same night at the end of May as the Rowe Cup. I know you weren't overly fussed on that, but if you take that into account, then it sort of makes sense.
Yeah, it's a draw card. It means people can come not just for one $500,000 race, which obviously is going to have a slight ego component to it, but most slot races do, because unless you win it, there's probably not a lot of money in it for you, but that's not the public's concern. The public don't care. They see $500,000 in a party at Cambridge and they go, whoop, whoop, off we go. So I think it's important, Greg, first of all, to talk about the entirety of this work. A lot of people worked really hard on this down at Harness Racing New Zealand, and their team behind that, and Michael House and Bruce Barlas and Martin Pearce and a lot of people like that, and I'm sorry to the ones I missed. and not everybody's going to be happy about this, but those people took time away from their families and spent countless hours on this. So to them, thank you. Now, the document itself, lots of it I like, lots of it I don't care about. There's some stuff which the races are going to turn up when they turn up. So the slot races are total yes. There's no issue with that. Retaining Ashburton and Kaikoura, retaining some early spring open class racing in the north, which they weren't going to do, that's a yes too. Auckland Cup late May, undecided. I think it's a hard sell in the middle of winter to get people to Alexandra Park, but do we run race meetings these days to get people to the track, or do we run them for a calendar? I don't have an opinion on it, Greg. It's not bad, it's not good, we'll find out. And a lot of that comes down to promotion and how well it's done.
What about the New Zealand Bloodstock Harness Million Night? Really like that concept going into the sales?
Nothing to not like about that.
Yeah.
That's perfectly. But we knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Then we get to the second end of the season, and there's this huge race meeting at Addington on the first Saturday in December. Love the concept. A little bit of me feels like the Cantabrians might have had enough of harness racing at that level and dressing up to go to the harness races by the time Cup Week is done, because it's such an exhausting experience. Getting them to repeat business first
within a
week
month.
of
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit of potential struggle, but you also have, I don't know, the first 1,500 people on the gates want to have their Christmas party somewhere.
Yep.
We might as well have it at Addington. And it's a time of year there's not a lot of other things going on in New Zealand sport-wise. So undecided on that, but again, we'll see how it turns out. Itself, as an entity, is going to be an incredible day. So the things, I think there's lots of great things in there, and I think it's really important, Greg, that when people look at this document, they don't just do what harness racing people naturally do, is concentrate on the negatives. I'm not going to have this. We're not going to have an Easter Cup. And yeah, I'm going to kind of miss that. We're not going to have Jules Day. I'm totally going to miss that. I still think there was room somewhere for Jules Day, but I'm not sure where I would have put it because I haven't put as much thought into this document as they have. But I don't like the thought that Jules Day is gone, but I'm not sure it's gone forever.
Yeah.
And then, Greg, you start sort of splitting other hairs, what's good, what do you not like, what do you like? The other thing which happened last week is obviously we pulled out of the Inter-Dominion cycle.
Yes.
So New Zealand is out of the Inter-Dominions. I doubt we'll ever go back in. To me, does that matter? I just don't think, and this is no disrespect to the Inter-Dominion, I don't think the Inter-Dominion resonates in here for New Zealanders the way it does for Australians. To them, it's a massive deal, and they need the brand more than we do because they don't have a New Zealand Cup. New Zealand Cup is what gets us going. It's the bone deep one. Whereas for Australians, that's probably the Miracle Mile of the Inter-Dominion. Now, it's going to Queensland, our slot. There was a 3-year rotation, so the New Zealand slot's going to Queensland. It sits better there, Greg.
Yeah, it does.
The Inter-Dominion sits better in Queensland. People want to go to an Inter-Dominion in Queensland. When you hold New Zealand Cup Week in November, and it's so big, do people really want to have an Inter-Dominion in Christchurch? Because that's where it's going next. A month later, I don't think they do. So do I want the Inter-Dominion to still be in New Zealand? Yes. Does it hurt that it's going? Not really. Does it sit better in Queensland? Yes. And we have to be honest about that as an industry, Greg. So it's a huge body of work. I think it's very exciting. And there'll be some things in there that are wrong, but already there's some things in there that are right. And the ones that we're not sure about are the ones we're going to have to work the hardest on.
Yeah, exactly. And as Catherine quite rightly pointed out, it's an evolving document too. It's not necessarily set in stone. They will continue to have a look at it. And next winter, they'll go back and say, well, what's happened over the last 7 months? Did we get everything right? And that's a good thing. Right, let's go across the ditch with our good friends from Garrards, taking some of the harness action from the weekend. Here's the Black Prince, Michael. Started out, of course, with Todd McFarlane, won his first race for him. Gets up the inside here at rather long odds for Robbie Morris.
Yep, this is the Len Smith Mile, part of a huge night at Menangle last Saturday night. Trained by a really good guy in Roy Roots Jr. Robbie Morris is great for harness racing. Good chat, good aggressive driver. dive to the inside. Won the Newcastle Mile on this horse. He's now on a Len Smith, and he'll be flying the Newcastle flag at the Inter-Dominions, which begin in about 3 weeks. And, of course, one night they head to Newcastle on the Sunday night for the heats. So for them to have a local star to fly the Newcastle flag in the Hunter Valley, the home of thoroughbred breeding in Australia, Greg, it's huge for them. So well done to Roy and to Robbie. It's a key component now, that Inter-Dominion promotion.
Yeah, what about the second horse there, Ultra Orlando? You mentioned him earlier on, Michael. Gee, he's just been incredible since travelling across there, and he's made the New Zealand connections because he's still owned over here. Quite a lot of money, thanks very much.
Yeah, well, he's the classy Brigade of Menangle. He just keeps turning up in races. Greg, in about 5 years' time, when you and I almost certainly won't be doing this show, and I would have been fired from something again, I'm going to open a race book somewhere, and Ultra Orlando is going to be racing somewhere. And he's probably going to go okay. I doubt he's ever I'm even not sure it's actually Ultra Orlando. It might just be one horse who just keeps regenerating and being called Ultra Orlando, like that dude out of Highlander. It's a great story. It's amazing what the standardbreds can do. But he is a horse who's also all seemingly bulletproof. She just keeps on turning up. This is little old Amazing Dream, who has been turning up in all sorts of fights in all sorts of states. And here she is just bolting home in the Queen of the Pacific, beating Spellbound. So Nathan Purdon gets the Quinella with these two ex-New Zealanders, and she's not apparently heading to the Inter-Dominions, Greg, but she's going to stick around for the Hunter Cup in February before she heads up to North America. God, she's a little marvel.
Isn't she? $500,000. That's what she's earned this season. You know, she just keeps on.
That's what she cost.
Yep, $500,000. She's earned effectively what she's cost. Yep. So.
I think she cost $500,000. And when they sold her, I thought, well, she's going to make a broodmare. She's a bit small. Doesn't matter. She'll pay for it.
Exactly, yeah.
And she keeps going, Greg, because she's so sound. She'll probably win another $1 million. And after that, who knows what's possible. So, she's a great story. And Nathan has just landed in Victoria with an almighty thud. And a key component of that is Anthony Butt. Those two getting together at the big business, Nathan's youth and enthusiasm, Anthony's cunning and experience with some good New Zealand horseflesh. Whew, hard to beat.
Speaking of Anthony Butt, he took out the Victoria Derby for expat Kiwi and Brent Lilly. Let's go and have a look at Kai Valley Hotspur. Getting things done here and quite nicely. Thanks very much, Michael.
Yeah, Victorian Trotters Derby, track record time. This is the Brecken breed, the Love Your Doozy breed. Well, we know they breed good trotters, and this one's by Muscle Hill, so he's the new superstar of the trotting, siring ranks. But the way he hit the line there, those sort of times, that's that really high-class American blood we're seeing Brecken Bloodstock bring through the sales ring all the time. Well done to the Kai Valley team, of course. They come over here, Jim Connolly, and buy a lot of our horse flesh. They buy a lot of it from the Breckens. I know Ken and Karen will be very, very proud of the fact that they are able to breed these horses, take them to Karaka. Because, Greg, when you sell those type of horses at Karaka, guess what happens?
They come back. Yep, exactly. Speaking of the Breckens, Better Twist takes her place in the heat of the Breeders' Crown. So does Life's a Beach, who's now with the Gaths, of course. So Better Twist with a second row draw. Life's a Beach with a handy barrier too. Yeah,
Life's a Beach is obviously so progressive. I wouldn't be surprised to see her come out of this series even better. Better Twist is obviously the better horse, but she's got a second line barrier draw against Beach Music again, Greg. She could well get beat again. She's going to need to start drawing better or have her key rivals start drawing worse if she's going to win this Breeders' Crown. Not because of the talent, because they're going to get to the front end and they're not going to wait for it, Gregory. And as we said in harness racing, you've seen with Ultra Wise Guy, Muscle Mountain, Classy Brigade and Kai Valley Hotspur, all those races we just watched. When they get to the front end, these good horses, it's awfully hard to run past them.
Yeah, it certainly is. American Dealer also in a heat there on Friday night at Bendigo. All right, we're about to take a short break here on your box seat. On the other side, we'll be in the home straight. We'll give you a whole lot of information about the massive week coming up at Addington. Welcome back into your box seat. Yes, we're in the home straight. Let's concentrate on what's going to unfold over the next 10 days or so. We've got the box seat preview show, an extensive preview which will be recorded on Sunday morning, should be available mid-afternoon. Play out times on trackside 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. on Monday, and then on IRT New Zealand Cup Day at 9 a.m. This punters club's going to be a whole lot of fun, Michael. Any denomination, so you can pick your amount. You can go to the TAB website, go to your local TAB as of Saturday, start investing in that, and you and I are going to have the opportunity to have a decent sort of a play for the people of New Zealand. We can get them involved, and we'll be betting, Michael, from race 3 on. We have absolutely no idea what's going to end up in the pool. I'm picking it'll be a heck of a lot, so there's a bit of study to be done when these fields come out later, this being Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, that is, Greg. Now, so for people who are going to be watching from home or going to the hotel or the pub to watch, if you're in an area where that's available to you, it's just an easy way to say, look, if you don't want to do the study but you want to yell at the TV and have a drink, we'll just invest in the Punters Club, and obviously only what you can afford to lose, your $20, your $30. But if you want to take a big stake, if you want to enjoy Cup Day but you don't want to bet with your own study, take a bigger chunk if you want. I'm not sure we're going to win, Greg. I've had Cup days where I've absolutely smashed it out of the park, and I've won 5 figures personally. I've had Cup days where last year I think I picked 5 out of 13. Had just a tricky day at the office. What I can promise people is I'm going to park up on the computer and do all the study I don't usually get the time to do because I'm too busy, and I'm going to bring 15 to 20 trainers. And I'll ring them and say, look, don't muck me around. What is actually going on here? What do you think? How is this horse? I'm going to put all that together, Greg, all that information together, along with you, and try and come up with a strategy. And one of the strategies will be finding the best bet of the day and having half the pool in it.
Yep. And maybe that will be in the New Zealand Cup. Maybe.
Yep. Say we have 100K to play with. We might have 50, self-assured. And we're going to make it basic. We're not going to get into trifectas and confusing people and poker bets. We're going to say we're having 10,000 each one of this, so we're having 5,000. And in the races we don't particularly like, we're not going to feel the pressure to have a bet. We'll have 2,000 on something. But we're going to take it seriously. We're going to take it seriously. And Greg, what I'm going to do is put a chunk of my own money in there, because I would usually bet on Cup Day, and I would do so semi-professionally to try and make some money. It's a big day for me, and it's a chance for me to make some money, Greg, because the big pools are big. I'm not going to bet personally on Cup Day now. I'm going to take the money I was going to bet on Cup Day,
put it into ours. Yep.
Pool. So if the pool wins, I win. If the pool loses, I lose. So we can't make any promises, Greg.
We're all in this thing together, Michael.
Well, yeah, but also, Greg, people who are watching this at home are busy. They don't have the time to do the study. So I'm going to put a fair chunk of the weekend apart to try and do that, Greg. And that means I'm not going to write as much as maybe I wanted to, but this is an important thing. And well done to Darren Williams for getting the TRB involved. Well done to the TRB for giving them the opportunity. If you want to know how to get involved, just go to the website or just rock into your TRB if you're in an area where you're allowed to go to the TRB.
Yeah, exactly.
And buy some tickets, and we'll do our best to try and help you.
Yep, we certainly will. SENZ, 12 to 1 on Sunday. Michael and I will have a whole lot of information and interviews there for you. Don't forget also, go to Addington123.com if you want to go in their picks competition. You can actually win yourself a race sponsorship and a night out at Addington. $20,000 guaranteed first fours, $100,000 terminating pick six. All of those details will certainly update for you on Sunday on the preview show. There's a golf day on the Monday. I'm pretty sure that's close to being full, so you'll need to get your details to Peter Frid and the team at the golf at Templeton. Here's a bit of footage, Peter Bacon there, showing a bit of talent. Go to peter.frid@nzi.co.nz, or you can see his number there, 029 977 3878. Ken Brecken won't be there. And there's the former pro from Templeton and Peter Stoddart doing it left-handed there. And HRNZ, they have their big lift out, which is going to come out on the Monday leading into the Cup. So plenty of punting information for you there. Monday night, of course, the Oldhurst Hotel, they have their Calcutta night, get that out, and they always have a great time of it there. Michael, last week's best bets, we had some real challenges because the fields weren't out. I tipped Pace and Pride didn't take its place in the aged pace, and you came unstuck on a maiden trotter when you berated me a couple of weeks ago about tipping a maiden trotter.
I'm just not berating you. I don't really care what you say. I mean, it's just fun because now we're not in the same studio. You can't do anything about it. So I might berate you again later on for no reason at all. I might even ring you in the day to berate you. No, it wasn't last week because the fields weren't out, but that's a conversation for another day. Probably take an hour. This week's a little bit better. I really like a horse at Alexandra Park on Friday. A horse called Mr. Chip. Raced in a sires stakes heat last time, and any time a horse races in a sires stakes heat, Gregory, and drops back to a maiden race, even though this is not an easy maiden race, hard to beat. But this one, crucially, Tony Hurley, he drives himself and has gate speed, really good gate speed. So it'll be in front on the markers, whether it stays in front or trails. Either way, it's going to be hard to beat. So Mr. Chip, owned by some good golfing guys. Actually, that's how it got its name. Yeah, it's my bet on Friday night, Greg, as we seek redemption heading into Cup week, trying to get the form ready for the Punters Club.
Well, what we'll try and do is perhaps get a multi for them on Friday, so they've got some money to put in there. I'm going with Show Me Heaven with Rakiro Racing. Barrier 1 from race number 11. It is a twilight meeting at Rangiora. I'm pretty happy to have my bet there. Let's have a look at the hits and misses from last week. Overzealous as part of that Marathon Kaikoura program. In fact, the whole of our hits and misses this week were placed on that race day. True Fantasy in the last couldn't have been more impressive. Typo was another very good winner on the day, not part of the hits and misses, and Shan Noble, someone had a decent play on that in the aged pace. A big thanks to Matt Peden for providing us with those. In terms of what is happening this week, so Rangiora Twilight, 1:27 the start time there. They've got 11 races. Alexandra Park continue the Friday night action with 9. Sunday at Invercargill, they have a 9-race program at 12:25. And Monday, I think there's another 5-race Manawatu meeting. So plenty of harness action building towards, Michael, what is going to be an enormous week at Addington Raceway. A strange week in many ways, but the IRT New Zealand Cup, the 118th running of the great race, it's still a happening thing, and I cannot wait once again for the week that we all look forward to.
Yeah, and Greg, even though we're going to have 20,000 less people on track, which really hurts, there's probably 200,000 people watching the New Zealand Cup, so we're only losing 10% of it. For 90% of people watching, Greg, it's still exactly the same experience. There's just less pretty things to look at in between the races. One thing we do have, and this is interesting, a lot of people would know this, if you love Cup Week but you feel a bit removed from it because you can't be there, HRNZ, the new radio station obviously, has an app. Now some people don't listen to apps, but you're probably missing out if you don't. They're having a rolling Cup Week coverage every morning. So they got Cup Week on radio. Every morning from 8 till 10 New Zealand time, we're going to have a preview of that day's racing and a review of the day before. So 2 hours dedicated. Now, it's not on the usual way you listen to your radio because that's taken up by the Baz and Izzy show. So if you download the app and listen to it there, you can listen to it in your car, you can listen to it in the stables. Every day between 8 and 10 o'clock New Zealand time, there's going to be a special Cup Week show. Obviously, a lot of really big harness racing content. If it doesn't interest you, don't download the app. If you love Cup Week and you want more of it, download the app. Doesn't cost you any money. Have a listen, see what you think.
All right, good information there. In terms of the markets for the Cup, the New Zealand Cup market will be out by 5 o'clock on Wednesday evening. The remaining Group 1s, so that's the sires and of course the trotting free-for-all, they'll be out by about 9:30, 10 a.m. on Thursday, and then by the end of play on Thursday, about 5:30, 6 o'clock, end of play for normal working hours, the entire card will be out with the TAB, and that's when Michael and I will be sitting down and working out how we can make this box seat Punters Club make some moolah. That wraps up this week's show. Don't forget the preview though, Michael, Sunday recorded, YouTube in the afternoon, and all of those play out times on Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be one heck of a preview.
Yep, looking forward to it, Greg. It's a special time, and we're going to do our best to bring it to you if you can't be there as well. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday, mate. And roll on. It's one of the great weeks of the year. And also, Greg, before we go, from the Box Eat team, our congratulations to our little mate, James McDonald, and our slightly taller mate, Chris Waller. You made a lot of us very proud with what you were able to achieve in the other cup, the other Tuesday Cup, just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, no, couldn't have put it better. Michael, we'll catch you on Sunday.